goes, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to go through the games, and I want to leave ourselves like a little time to put our lineups in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah. What do you got? What do you got planned today? By the way.
Let's do it. I'm over at friend's family's house.
Okay.
You know, my family is under pretty strict quarantine thing, so I'm not able to see all of them right now. I'm going to go back up there in a couple weeks, but I'm having a great time down here and ready to get after it today.
All right, let's go through it. I guess we're live. I'm just trusting this, I suppose. I didn't tweet or anything like that. We're just gonna just blast it and see.
Yeah.
And see what's going on. So Butler is in, right?
That's what I got. Yeah.
So Butler is in. So here's, I mean, maybe I'll talk this through with you in this way. But my initial take on the slate in general is, you know, it's the second game of the season, and I worry that I'm either putting too little stock into what's happened and also at the same time putting too much stock into what's happened, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I really, you know, interested in getting your take on certain just total surprises, which is resulting in, you know, some pretty heavy ownership in places where you would never have thought, you know, and like, I mean, just get right to it. I mean, if I told you a week ago that on Christmas Day, Eric Bledsoe would be 50% owned, right? You'd be like, you got to be out of your mind, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's so I want to go through all this, you know, and we're also coming off of even a 2-game slate where you had a couple of pretty significant busts. And then also you have Christmas where, you know, everybody wants to play and show out, and yet you have this kind of one standout blowout-ish type game, which brings up, you know, something we talk about a lot is to what extent, if at all, you factor in blowouts. And I just remember, like yesterday was last year where Houston was like 100. I don't even remember whether they were 100-point favorite or 100-point underdog. I forget what they were, but they ended up winning on Christmas. You know what I mean? When everybody thought it was going to be a blowout, and it's
everybody was out, right? For them, they had nobody playing.
That's right. So you want to just just go game by game here?
Game by game. Let's do it, buddy.
All right, so I guess I'll do the first one. So my first comment on the New Orleans game is kind of what I led into earlier, is that Eric Bledsoe just, I want to say out of nowhere, but I guess, you know, just because he's playing for a new coach and whatever, they rolled him out like a zillion minutes last week, you know, last game. And not only they roll him out a zillion minutes, but he actually didn't even close. You know, like he put all those minutes out, and they were ready to throw him back into more if they didn't. I think they outscored him like 15-1 to end the game or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, maybe this is a good situation for Bledsoe. You know, getting out of Giannisville. You know, out of whatever situation he was in, where he was getting 28 minutes a night. So I guess the first question is that real? You know what I mean? My other things about New Orleans is that, you know, Ingram is great. And Zion, I feel is interesting because I really thought that he was just a tremendous play. And you know what? For whatever reason, he just didn't smash right in his last game. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden after one game, he still doesn't have that incredible explosive upside as always, right? So I don't want to understate or not understate. I don't want to overstate how we did in his last game, because remember, it's just one game, especially with these kind of high upside young guys. So that was my initial take on the New Orleans side, and then on the Miami side, you know, Butler I think is a good play. I would be nervous. I mean, with the sprained ankle and coming off the, you know, all the zillion minutes he played in the bubble. And then I was looking at kind of other pieces of this game. I mean, Adebayo, Bam played like a zillion minutes. He's going to be really good. I mean, no one in New Orleans. Well, Steven Adams is not exactly. He's not weak. You know what I mean? He's strong. So I don't know how smash of a spot this is for Bam. Which brings me to another point, is that, you know, with this game in particular, you know, if this were last year, I would say New Orleans was going to be playing really fast, and it'd be a dream matchup. But this, I don't know why I'm so hung up on the Steven Adams thing. I don't know how a team that plays with Steven Adams for 32 minutes is going to be such a fast team. You know,
the only thing I could say about this that might be a little bit valuable is that for 2 years, Oklahoma City was the fastest team in the NBA, and Steven Adams was on that team. But that had more to do with Russ. That had more to do with the style, all that stuff. New Orleans is still going to play fast enough, I think. I don't think that we need to think that, look, maybe they're not going to play quite as fast as they were last year, and they will play a little bit more defense, which I tried to allude to the other day. But I don't think that I think you can still be a fast team with Steven Adams. I understand your thinking. I totally do. I think they're still going to be overall a paced team. Now, if I was betting on the game and the spread, I would probably bet the under. So I kind of get where you're coming from, but I do think that New Orleans will still play fast enough, and they're going to be very valuable for fantasy. I personally have 2 players in this game. There's a lot of people going to be attached to this game, which is interesting. I'm looking at the ownerships, and it's a lot in this game. I am going to ignore most of it and just play Bam and Zion. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know that's what the people want to get to, is like kind of what we're doing here. And I agree with both those plays. I mean, I love Bam, I love Zion. And what are you doing with Bledsoe then?
So I'm fine. Look, if I need to play Bledsoe, I'll go ahead and do it. I'm trying to avoid that personally. Okay. But I honestly think Hero is going to be pretty well owned too, and I like Hero, but I don't know that I want to do that on this slate. I feel like you can gain some leverage by playing the later games, and there is a lot of goodness, I would say, a lot of fantasy goodness where I've got 7 players in this game who are 25%, I'm sorry, or higher. And that just seems crazy to me. So I'm only going to play Bam for the most part and Zion. That's my plan. I think Brandon Ingram is one of the best plays on the slate on FanDuel especially, but I think he's the sneaky other one you would attach to this. I don't think him and Zion together is optimal, but I do love I do love Ingram. I think that people are sleeping on him this year in general. I think that this guy is going to be one of the highest fantasy producers of the season for any player. And people just haven't really caught up to that. It's odd that a guy is going to be like 5% owned or less who put up 65 fantasy points or whatever he put up the other night and did it pretty effortlessly against a good defense. This is another good defense, but he's probably underpriced at 8,100 or 8,300, I should say. That's the only other one you could consider. The only problem is it gets into a tricky thing of, do I want to play Luka later? Do I want to, you know what I mean? That's the only issue I have with that.
The other thing I would say about this slate before we get into more of these games is, remember, this is a very unique slate in that it's a once in a season slate where basically you have 5 games, all island games, and you have a chance to add value to yourself. You know what I mean? By continuing to reevaluate during the course of the day. I know it's Christmas. I know it's rough.
Yep.
However, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if like, for example, if I were writing a computer program which knew who I was going to like and whatever it is in each game, and could readjust each game based on how you did in the past and what you project to do in the future and what kind of leverage you need going forward, I mean, that would be the way to play. So the next best option is to be the person that is constantly on top of it. And from a theories perspective, what that means is really you should be overweighting your exposure towards the later games, if all else being equal, if for no other reason than to maintain the flexibility that I just kind of alluded to. And what's interesting is, like you said, and it's a function of price, because I do think the Miami-New Orleans game is the one that's actually the softest from a pricing perspective, which is why they're garnering ownership. But in general, I mean, I would much rather play later games anyway. So if I'm a little fishy about some of these pieces, like Bledsoe, for example, I mean, like I said, Bledsoe, give it up to him. He had a great game and he played 34 minutes. And I'll tell you this: if he plays 36 minutes a day, we're gonna, you're gonna want to have him at 5,600, and he'll never be 5,600 again if he's playing 36 minutes a day. Um, but I'll, at 45% ownership or whatever he's going to be, I'll probably pay to see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll let them beat me. You know what I mean? So that's going to be. I'm kind of with you on the overall approach to this game. I do like Hero, and in a way, I'm kind of glad Butler's playing, because if Butler was out, Hero would be 80 billion% owned or whatever it is. And just in general, I like the upside younger guys. So like everybody does, but so I do like Hero in general. And they started him at like point guard, I think, in the last game. So if that's really going to continue to be
the case, kind of nuts. I mean, I honestly want to reevaluate a little bit of what I was saying, because this price is a little bit nuts for him in this matchup. I didn't quite put all the pieces together, but I think Hero and Robinson are much better plays than I initially thought. But I love the idea of playing Hero and not playing Bledsoe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same price. You've got the I like the spot. I really do. I think New Orleans is still going to be overall a little on the poor side defensively, and you can get a little mini stack action and still have plenty left to go later on. I mean, these are cheap options. Duncan Robinson is too cheap. Tyler Hero is way too cheap. Way too cheap. I have no interest in any of these other pieces exactly. And I love Bam and Zion, but I really just want to cut it off at those four. I don't really have an interest in playing anybody else.
I'll tell you something else before we get into this next game, which is kind of a relevant discussion going into this game, sort of, is that for those of you that watched our initial couple of videos, I talked about kind of the future of stacking and the ownership involved in it going forward this year, and I mentioned that I'm pretty clued into what the industry is thinking in general, and all I see, not all I see, but 80% of what I see throughout the industry is how correlations are weak in the NBA. Don't worry about stacking. Don't worry about this. And to me, I'm like, all right, for me, where I do think there's a lot of merit in it, is just going to reduce the ownership in those types of situations. And just the other day, I mean, I was watching, for whatever reason, I was doing okay in one of the single entries. Mm-hmm. So, and you happen to have been in first place in one of the ones that I was sweating early, so I always had your thing up on the thing. And dude, I mean, if Giannis makes that one free throw, right, and goes to overtime, then your Giannis and Jaylen Brown lineups just kind of destroy people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So don't sleep on playing, guys from both sides of games, yep. even for no other reason, the overtime big, but it's
that's a big thing.
I do think it's pretty important, and on Christmas you have the best players. So if you can get overtime out of the best players, I mean, you thought that, for example, you think that Giannis has a 40% usage rate in regulation. I mean, in overtime, you literally have 100%, right, usage
right.
rate. So it's so with that said, here are a couple thoughts I had on the Golden State Milwaukee game. There's blowout risk. Okay, there's blowout risk in every game, and there's significantly more blowout risk in this game. Here are a couple of thoughts. Number one is that if you are going to play Giannis, it's probably a decent idea to play guys from the Golden State side. And the obvious one is obviously to play Curry alongside of Giannis. The other thing I find interesting is that Curry, even though they got blown out in the Brooklyn game, he got 50 fantasy points in three quarters. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's back. To say the least. The other thing I would say on the Golden State side is in a similar way that all of a sudden we have Bledsoe at 5,600. Now he's 100% on. Eric Pascal was 800% owned in his last game and was basically the talk of the town on Twitter. You know what I mean, about how just terrible he was. Just don't let him go off at 5% today. That'd be my first comment. And the other guy, the other evil twin from that game was a really high owned Andrew Wiggins, who was just beyond atrocious. I mean, he got 8 turnover. I don't know what the hell was going on with him.
Terrible.
But I will tell you this: if in fact you're going to play a stack game against Milwaukee, you might need more than just Curry to go off. You know what I mean? So
I totally agree.
So I think you could play. I mean, as gross as it is, you could play Curry and Wiggins or something like that. and with what's his face with Giannis. So that's one thing. The other thing I would mention about the Golden State side of things is James Wiseman was quote unquote limited in the last game, and he had like 28 minutes or something like that.
He looked phenomenal too.
And he was insane. And you know that I love playing centers against Milwaukee in general. I mean, let's go.
Yeah, I'm into it. I like it. I kind of actually he's the guy I like the most of this in this game.
I would say on FanDuel, obviously he's a much better player than on DraftKings, but
yeah, but I even think he's reasonable. Like it's okay. This guy's good. There's upside there. There's 2010 type of stuff. The problem I'm having with this game is that look, there's great. I know it seems like a smallish slate, but there's great options. Yeah. I don't want to play Giannis. No. I don't want to play these guys. I only want to play DiVincenzo, and I only want to play Pascal. And you nailed it with Pascal. I totally agree with that. That this guy's going to be 0% owned. And yeah, his price is a little higher, and he sucked the other night. That was just a complete randomness. This is not something we should hold on to too long. I really like DiVincenzo for his price. I really like Pascal. I have no interest in playing the core pieces. I get it. If you're going to play Giannis, I think you should play a Curry or a Wiggins or both. I think that's the way you should build. But I'm so low on this Golden State team. I think that they are terrible. I think they might be one of the worst teams in the West. And Curry cannot do it all himself. So that's why it makes sense to pair those guys together. But for me, I'm probably going to just X this one out.
Okay, so I have one other thing for you guys if you want. And I have a feeling that he's not going to be even that off the board. I think people are going to play him. If you don't want to play Giannis, if you don't want to play Curry, and the reason why you don't want to play them is because you think it's a blowout, I will introduce you to probably the greatest blowout player in history, and that's Bobby Portis. Okay,
absolutely.
So if you want to do that, Portis is basically free on DraftKings, I think, at like 4,200 or something. And that would be the thing to do.
I totally am with you. I think that Bobby Portis is a really sneaky, awesome value. Just to reiterate, I do think Pascal and DiVincenzo are the best values in this game, but Portis has that upside and he's going to be unowned. So I love that play.
All right, so let's move on. It's going to be almost Christmas dinner time here. Not yet quite in Santa Barbara, but or wherever you are. But so Brooklyn and Boston, man, what a Merry Christmas, man. You get Kyrie against the Celtics on Christmas. Now they played in the regular season. They played in the preseason as well, I think. So it's not like the first time they're playing against them, but I think they did. But it's here we go. Here are a couple of comments I had on this game. I mentioned that, Karis LeVert running that sixth-man second unit, he's going to have a lot of games where, like the one before, where they blow people out and then he just destroys people to the point where you're going to see, 7K and up, just kind of like Lou Williams. Which all of a sudden now we have it, right? 7,200.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think this is the right spot to do it. I just don't think that this is, I think this is going to be a close enough game where they're going to rely on their bigger pieces a lot more. Remember, they rested them their whole fourth quarter in the last game, so I feel as though Durant and Kyrie are going to play 36 minutes today. And maybe more. I don't know. I think it's a big game for them, man. I mean, this is so I don't know if I'm going to get to LeVert. I think I'm not going to get to Jared Allen either. Just for whatever reason, they made their decision, man. They're not playing him. I mean, not they're not playing him, but they're starting Jordan. That's just what they're doing.
In all fairness, I did come in second in a pretty big tournament the other night with Jared Allen as my center.
I got you. Well, okay. If you tell me that again that the game's going to be done,
yeah,
that's fine. So I like from the Brooklyn side. I do like Durant, especially on FanDuel, at the power forward position.
Yep.
But from what I've seen, Durant's going to be pretty low owned on DraftKings. from what I remember, he's a pretty good basketball player. And in a close game, I'd try it. Kyrie Irving, I'm actually, they used to have those comments like, who are you most afraid of being underweight on? Probably going to be Kyrie. I don't know how much I'm going to get of him. It kind of scares the crap out of me. But for me,
I'm on the opposite page of you with this one. I just think that you have to play. I really think that this is the spot. If you're going to play Kyrie ever, this is when you play Kyrie.
Right. Well, we're on the same page. What I'm saying, I don't know. Okay. I'm like, if I'm underweight, I'm going to be scared. So I'm going to probably.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
And then the truth is, so here's my comment on the Boston side. Jeff Teague's 4,200. It's a good price. It's starting point guard in a close game. I mean, I don't know. I can't. It's a good play. Jaylen Brown. We talked about this going into the first game they were playing. That with Gordon Hayward out, I mean gone. I mean, he's going to have a big year. I mean, like this is he's in play pretty much every slate, I think. And there were two other things I wanted to mention. Is again, if he goes under owned. I guess he can't be, but I would play Marcus Smart today. I don't know how owned he's going to be. And again, just don't go on a one-game sample size. And one guy I wanted to ask you about from the Celtics side is I barely know he was on the team, but Tristan Thompson at 5,200. More on FanDuel actually, but Tristan Thompson. So tell me what you think of this game.
I see the logic for him on FanDuel. I'm just going to reiterate what I said the other night, and I believe I'm not going to take my victory lap because of one game, but Jaylen Brown is criminally underpriced. Yeah. Let's get into this part of it first of all. Yeah. Criminally underpriced. This is an 8K plus player who you have at 7K. It's just simple as that. It's easy. It's a wonderful play. So Jaylen Brown is my favorite play in this game. I absolutely love Kyrie, and I think Kyrie is the other guy you want to try and find a way, any way you can to get in. I think Kyrie is the type of person who narratives matter. Yeah. I don't care that there's not fans there. You know what I mean? Yeah. As we call him, Kanye Irving. He's a lunatic, but I mean, he came out with something to prove the other night too. And I was watching him and Durant. And by the way, this team is going to be a beast. They're going to be they're going to be very, very tough to contend with. Yeah. And I'm all on board with Kyrie. I just feel like this is the time to do it. Kyrie will be my prioritized spend up today. Okay. Between Kyrie, Zion, Bam, and I think I actually might get a little bit of Brandon Ingram. Those are the guys I'm sort of looking at to spend a little more money on. I'm not really trying to go for the 10K plus guys. We can get into the Luka thing in a minute, which we're going to, but I want to prioritize Kyrie, Jeff Teague. I understand he's just too cheap, like you said. And then you've got Jaylen Brown. I just think it's a phenomenal. Like Jaylen Brown's price could easily be like 9K today. Like I'm serious. This guy's going to put up more 50s than he's going to put up 30s. Like, let's play him. Let's just keep playing him. So Kyrie and Jaylen Brown are my favorite plays, along with Jeff Teague in this game.
Okay, so again, only because people are probably going to ask if they come in here is Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I just am not going to do it, but I get it. Like I'm fine with it. It's just I'm not doing it. I think if you're going to pay that price, it feels weird not to play Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to play Kevin Durant either. I just think that at this price, Tatum absolutely can get you the 55 or whatever. But how much upside is there really on that price point? Like, especially when you just relate to Kevin Durant being 100 more. You know what I mean?
The only thing I would say is that, again, you talk about narratives and coach speak and player speak, whatever, is after their last game when they beat Milwaukee, they were interviewing Tatum. He's like, "I'm glad we won," and he says, "I suck, man." I mean, he was really down on himself for that.
Dude, I'm high on him in general. It's just about this one specific thing. I really I love Jason Tatum, but I don't know. I don't see this as being a good matchup for them necessarily. I think it's so hard for me. Jaylen Brown is going to score similar fantasy points to Jason Tatum. It's
Yeah.
7K. Jason Tatum's 9,400. To
Right.
me, that's what I'm letting do all my bidding for me.
So my first thing I wanted to talk about in the Dallas game was not Luka actually, but we could talk about him for sure. Obviously one of the top two plays on the slate, honestly, or three plays, whatever.
Right.
But I want to talk about the other guys. So you're going to get, presuming that he starts again or whatever, you're going to get a very very high owned and high projected Maxi Kleber at 3,500. So that's one thing I wanted to discuss. Two other guys, similarly, I mean, usage and stuff has to go somewhere, is Dorian Finney-Smith at 4,800 or Josh Richardson at 5,400, which not coincidentally is a pretty damn close price pivot off of Eric Bledsoe. So I wanted to ask you about those guys. So that was all I wanted to talk about on the Dallas side. And then on the Lakers side, there was a couple of sneaky guys, but I like Davis on FanDuel actually. And the other thing I liked on the Lakers, I was getting to, I don't know why, because he's just so awful, not awful, whatever, but just kind of like looking for low owned pivots. I wanted to ask you about Kuzma, but honestly, the guy from that Laker game, at least the first game, that really stood out is like really the only guy playing in top freaking form was Dennis Schroeder. So I would definitely go back to him. So let you take over this game.
Yeah, I want to block this game out, except for Kleber. Like, I really don't want to play pieces from this game as much. I don't like this spot. I love Kleber's price. I think Dorian Finney-Smith is a really reasonable play. It's an interesting the decision between him and Josh Richardson. I would say that they're almost like identical plays for the price points. I'm just struggling with how to get them in exactly. For some reason, I can't seem to find my way. But I'm totally good with both of them. I will not play Montrezl Harrell. I will not play Dennis Schroeder today, even though I love him. The guy I would play, to be honest, the most in this game, and he will not be owned. If I was going to play Luka, which I love Luka in general, all of this, I'm going to play him most days. I'm not playing him today. I think if you play Luka, you play Davis on the other side. I really believe that. I really like Anthony Davis in this matchup. I think he will absolutely feast on that front court. I think that while we saw them not playing in the fourth quarter because they were getting smashed the other night, I also think that the Davis is going to be the one who gets left out there more in those situations where things get a little sticky. So if there was any danger of anything weird happening. Also, I want to understand why this game the Lakers are almost a 7-point favorite in this game. Like, I don't know what anybody has seen that has decided the Lakers are 7 points better than Dallas. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It makes sense to me. I mean, with no Kristaps, I mean, Dallas is much weaker.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, the Lakers are going to struggle a lot more than everyone thinks this year. You're right. Without Kristaps, maybe. I don't think Dallas I still think they're fine. Anyway, personally, I just think the Lakers are being overvalued as usual. And I don't really have interest in trying to play these guys. I do think that Davis, if you're going to play this game, though, you play Luka, Kleber, and one of Finney-Smith and Richardson, and then Davis. That's the way I would treat this game. But for the most part, I'm not getting enough lineups. And part of it, I want to just say something to Sheets real quick. I don't like these tournaments. I don't like the tournaments they have today. You know what I mean? There's the big long shot ones, sure. But everything else, I don't know if they all sold out this morning, but I tried to make my lineups this morning and I'm going, what the hell's going on? These tournaments suck. Like, there's no good high mid-range buy. There's no good stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And because of it, I'm sort of narrowing my pool a little bit more. It doesn't mean these guys aren't good plays, Finney-Smith and Richardson especially, but I'm just going to try and look. The Lake. Are
you in the 555?
What's that?
Are you in the 555?
It's not even available.
Oh, we got to talk about that then. Because I'm in the 555.
Oh, I would love
to. I might just give that one to you if you want. No, seriously. I mean, you can change the lineup or whatever it is, and then we'll talk about that off air.
Yeah.
I knew this was gonna happen. I enrolled in all this shit like yesterday.
I am such an idiot for not doing it, to be honest. Like, but it was Christmas. I was having a good time. I just didn't think about it enough.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get on to the last game then. So Clippers Denver. So here are my thoughts on this game. Um, Again, you talk about Eric Bledsoe, and for me, a similar thing to discuss is like the kids say, "What up with Paul Millsap?" I mean, they ran him out a zillion minutes. He played great, and then I don't know whether it was after the fact or before the fact, but you got a lot of coach speak from the coach saying he's in incredible shape. He's looking his best shape he's ever been in at 35 years old or whatever it is. And I don't know whether that was just justifying it after the fact because he played well, or they really have these big plans for him. I don't know, man. He is also going to be insanely popular for Paul Millsap. You know what I mean? Like Paul Millsap used to be the guy we played last year as at 5% owned pivots and just got kind of upset when he never got there. But like this year, like you're going to really, he's going to be 30% owned today. And he's going to pop, and he is like every projection model because people are going to look at his last set of minutes and say, okay, that's what's going to happen. So that was my first thing to ask you about. Then like the obvious things. I mean, you get Jokic at maybe lower ownership after just killing people. And they're what are the Clippers going to do? Have Harrell or Zubac guard him? I mean, like nobody can deal with him.
Yeah.
So that was my first comment on the Denver side. And then obviously Michael Porter Jr. is always in play as long as they started him finally. You know what I mean? So if he's going to play 30 minutes and up the whole season, he's another guy that could be 8K pretty soon. So there's him. Then on the Clipper side, so they did start Batum, I think, after all that, and Batum did what Batum does, like not a lot,
He was actually, to be honest though, like he played pretty good.
Fine. He was fine.
Yeah.
And on the Clipper side, I mean, there's Kawhi again. Maybe this team, like we were saying, has something to prove. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the team that they were up 3-1 on in the playoffs and choked pretty damn hard. So I got a weird feeling that we got Paul George and Kawhi playing 40 minutes today. I don't know. It's very possible. And Paul George, I'll say this, he was freaking insane in the first game. So, I mean, maybe not at 8,800 on DraftKings, but on 7,600 or whatever it is on FanDuel.
Oh, yeah, just in my opinion, if I'm not playing much on FanDuel today, which, again, every time I say that, I'm going, why the hell don't I play much?
And then you just won all the money a few days ago on FanDuel.
Yeah, I know.
Not all of it, some of it.
It's literally because I'm looking at tournament selection and there's like nothing I want to play over there. You know what I mean? But I love I really think that there's something to play on with this Clippers thing. So they open up with the Lakers. That's obvious. Like that game, like we talked about on air, like was way more important for the Clippers than it was for the Lakers. Way more. Not just to mention that they got just demolished in the preseason. They underachieved last year, Paul George. But at the same time, Paul George and Kawhi are not exactly the, okay, give me the narrative and I need to go out there and take control kind of guys. Exactly. You know what I mean? That's sort of the knock on them a little bit is that they aren't that personality. I think that what you want to do in this game, which really weird is this game is going to be really low owned. I don't mind taking a shot at a look, it's overpriced, Paul George. I understand it. But if you want to take a shot with him on DraftKings, I think you're going to get like ridiculously low ownership for a guy that has a really good shot at getting 50 fantasy points for you. In a matchup that, by the way, he's always destroyed Denver. I know he struggled in the playoffs, but historically he's destroyed this team. And even in the playoffs, even as he struggled, he still was putting up pretty good stat lines, for fantasy anyway. I don't think I can get to the Jokic thing. The most interesting thing is we had a guy destroy the Clippers team in the playoffs named Jamal Murray, who's going to be 2% owned. Like, I'm not saying that it's an optimal play, but if you're playing a bunch of lineups, you better get yourself some Jamal Murray exposure. I'm serious. Like, this guy was putting up. I mean, what did he average in that series? Did he average 60 fantasy points a game, something like that? He
was just literally insane.
Yeah. So
the two guys, I'm telling you,
no one will play him.
The two guys from the bubble that just basically I was just my eyes just bulged the whole bubble was him and Donovan Mitchell. I mean,
absolutely.
And just because I wasn't expecting it from either of them, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'll also say, by the way, something you mentioned, and this is a really big thing for me. Also, you said the Clippers. They were looking at this Laker game. They took it seriously. This Denver game. If you guys don't forget, okay, because I might forget that the Clippers are playing in order. They play the Lakers in the first game, okay. Then they're playing the Nuggets, like huge game for them, number 2. Their next game after that is Sunday against the Mavericks, who against Luka, they'll get up for that.
That's their other one, yeah.
Tuesday, they are against the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves will be a lock. So I have to remember on our Tuesday thing, the T-Wolves will be a lock against the spread.
I'm loving that. I couldn't agree with what you said more. You nailed it. Like, yeah.
Okay, so wait. So here's an interesting question. So I see we have 20 people watching.
Yeah.
And is anybody asking any questions in here? Because
I have not seen a question yet, but feel free to go ahead. Well, comments are turned off for some reason, Sheets. I don't know. That's I think the problem. So we can't get questions.
Oh, right. So they're only, I don't know how to turn them on.
That's all right. It's all right. We'll get back to it. People are just
I do see that actually. You know what? Hold on, because I see. Yeah, it says there's an X by, I think I'm looking at it. I think comments might be turned off in the YouTube part of it. If you want to turn them on real quick, I mean,
I don't know how to do it. Let's see. Oh. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I'm probably not the best thing to do it while we're doing
while we're doing this stuff.
But I'll make sure it's. I don't know what why it's not, because usually.
So let's take, and then we'll get out of here. Let's take like 10 minutes to talk about construction for a minute. So are there any?
Yeah.
So what's your favorite game? You can talk about your favorite players. What's your favorite game to focus on?
So the problem is the best game is the first game, in my opinion, for fantasy output versus price. But at the same time, you're losing something by playing the first game. So
right.
That's my first thought. What's great about all of these games is if I was going to play a million lineups, and maybe I should, but it's Christmas, I'm with family, friends, and all this stuff. I don't know. I think you could make an argument for stacking every game. I really think I got a good argument. But for me, I think that then the pricing of the New Orleans Miami is a little bit, but mostly it's going to be one of Ingram or Zion and Bam on the other side. I'm not talking about like going hardcore stacks. And you could play Hero and you could play Bledsoe. You could play Dragic. You could play too.
You don't like Butler in that game.
I just don't play Jimmy Butler during regular season basketball games. Okay. And Christmas is a different thing. Like usually it does mean more, but these guys just got out of the fine. Like, what do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I just can't get that out of my head. Right. If there was one other guy who had one other combination, I would say from a game that my favorite combinations, Jaylen Brown, Kyrie is one from Brooklyn and Boston. And if you're gonna play the Dallas Laker game, I think you do play Anthony Davis on the other side, and you squeeze everybody in to play Anthony Davis and Luka, because there is a path where they get 75 fantasy points each. That's really, really on the table here. But for me, sadly, it is probably the first game, considering leverage, considering what you can do from having lineups later in the day on a lower spot. Maybe you could take a shot with this Clippers Denver game. It's really it's not an easy one to stack on DraftKings especially, but I think other than the I guess I would go New Orleans Miami number 1, and again mostly I'm just talking about 2 to 4 man stacks, not 6 man, not going crazy with it, and then it would be Brooklyn Boston followed by the Clippers and Denver. In terms of actually like trying to get leverage and having reasonable pieces you could stack on either side. But if I did play the Clippers in Denver, I would overpay for Paul George and I would pay for Jamal Murray. That I know it's weird, but you're just banking on basically what happened in the playoffs. Like it's not that weird, it's just going to seem weird. They're going to be very low owned. So I'm treating, I understand Milwaukee and Golden State could be close. There could be tons of fantasy output, all the yada, yada, all these things. I'm just not – I watch Golden State play. I can't teach my eyes not to see a team that just looks ill-equipped as an NBA franchise right now. And that's how I see them.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I want to give like a one last kind of like summary of the slate for you, but then we'll get out of here. And then – so I do want – it's so funny. We probably don't have time to do it but later in the day, just on principle, I want to do something on that freaking NFL Showdown game, just because it's playing.
Okay.
And we haven't done anything. You know what I mean? Just to even just to test this live stream out, you know, just to see if this is working. And then maybe later we'll do the Saturday football slate. You know what I mean? We got. I don't know how busy you are. You know what I mean? I'm here.
No. I'm with you. I'm into it, man. I'm into it.
And then we got to do Sunday too at some point. So.
You know me. If I'm winning money at basketball, I got to burn the money somewhere. So I got to play some football.
That's true. That's true. Can't save it all up for T-Wolves over Clippers on Tuesday. Right?
By the way, did we mention JJ Redick on this show?
We didn't, but he's in one of my lineups actually.
He's a really, really good play today at his price. You could say that he's not as good a play as Jeff Teague maybe, but he's a good play. I don't know what else to say, how else to say it exactly, but he's a guy we should have in some of our lineups. It's a little too cheap.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll get out of here. It's we're gonna perfect the stream a little bit. I'm using the restream thing, so it seems to be working pretty well actually.
Yeah,
get your sound, get your video. You just got to figure out how to disable the comments enable the comments for YouTube so we can get live chat in. Because right now it's being broadcast on my YouTube channel, which literally nobody subscribes to, and my Twitch, which nobody subscribes to because I haven't done anything yet. So we got to make sure we get your YouTube one. So anyway, good luck to everybody today. And Bobby, hang in there. I'm gonna finish the stream, and then I want to talk to you anyway.
All right, sounds good. You guys, hey, good luck out there. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards. I know it's a little bit of a weird day, but Merry Christmas to everybody, and